My Way to God. Author
Hossein Hilbert.
This part. Contact with Spirits. Part 1. Amir, our close relative, returned to Iran after many years of studying and working in England and started working in a private company. He was a staunch atheist and said that if there was a God, there should be no oppression. Why should innocent children in Africa die of hunger, and gave other reasons like injustice and so on around the world. After a while, Amir became the most devout person I had ever seen. One day I asked him, "What happened that all your thoughts and mentions are about God and you are trying to serve Him?" He replied, "One day after work, one of my colleagues said, 'I will see my spiritual teacher. Do you want to come with me?' I went along reluctantly and just out of curiosity, and was so impressed by the teacher that I became one of his best students. One of the things Amir learned from the master was how to summon spirits, although he thought the word summoning was completely wrong and said, 'Spirits are not our servants to summon them.' Amir thought the expression contact with spirits was correct, and used it. I told him I thought contact with spirits was a trick by some charlatans to take money out of people's pockets. He said, I had thought the same thing. Of course, some people do that. The contact with the spirits is real, but I will never ask for money for what I do for God's sake." Some time later, Amir, who lived with his mother Farideh, invited my family, 2 sisters, and Mona, the daughter of one of the sisters, who was unmarried and lived with her mother, to his house for dinner. My wife Paria asked Amir to summon the spirit of her elder brother Arshad, who had died at the age of 42. Amir, who knew that Paria's brother had recently died, understood her request and agreed to contact him. My sisters also asked Amir to call our father's spirit, and he agreed. The medium was chosen by all guests, except my small children. Amir placed us side by side, about 40 centimeters apart, facing the wall. He walked slowly behind us, stopped in front of each of us, held his right hand 10 centimeters below our necks and away from our bodies, and then slowly pulled it away from us. My sisters and Mona were easily drawn to Amir. My wife and I were pulled strongly towards him and lost our balance, so he had to hold each of us with both hands to prevent us from falling to the ground. It was very interesting for me to see that Amir, without any physical contact, could generate such energy from a distance of 10 centimeters and with only one hand, which completely unbalanced us. Although I could be a medium, Paria was a better medium. As far as I know, mediums are mostly women. Amir and his mother were good hosts. So that we 5 adult guests who wanted to experience the first contact with the spirits could all sit around the round table. Amir stood opposite Paria, half a meter away from the table. His mother sat on a chair a little further away. Paria was sitting on a chair to my right. Our children stood next to her so that they could see their mother and her hand movements better. My sisters and Mona sat in the other 3 seats. Amir placed paper and pen on the table in front of Pariya. He asked her to keep her hand relaxed on the paper while talking to the spirits so that the spirits could move her hand and answer her questions with the little energy they had. He said that Pariya could also receive and express the spirits' answers telepathically while writing. There was daylight and completely normal conditions and atmosphere, without any mumbo-jumbo like you see in some videos or movies. There was absolute silence. Without Amir saying anything or even whispering, you could see from the expression on his face that he was preoccupied with his thoughts. After a short while, he said, "They've come. There are 3 of them. I don't know who the 3rd one is." He felt the presence of the spirits very clearly. With a wave of his hand, Amir asked Pariya to pick up the pen and place the tip on the paper. He had previously said that spirits should only answer spiritual questions and not talk about material things. Amir said, "Please introduce yourself. What is your name?" Answer: Arshad. After thanking Arshad for accepting the invitation and welcoming him, he told Pariya that she could start the conversation with her brother. Pariya began her conversation casually. "Dear Arshad, we miss you very much. We miss you immensely," and so on. Then she asked, "How are you?" Pariya's hand moved, the word "fine" was written and Pariya said it in her voice. After a few more questions and answers, Pariya said, "Dear Arshad, I won't take up your time any longer," and said goodbye. Amir asked Arshad, "Which world are you in?" Answer: World 3. Now it was my father's turn. Amir said, "Please introduce yourself. What is your name?" As Pariya's hand began to move, she said, "Baman." After Amir thanked him for accepting the invitation and welcoming him, he asked me and my sisters to talk to our father. I didn't like my father and kept quiet, but my sisters talked to him. In the end, one of my sisters asked, "Do you have a message for Hossein?" Answer: I miss him very much. My other sister asked, "Do you want us to get in touch with you again?" Answer: Maybe. None of us had expected such a vague answer. Amir asked, "Which world are you in?" Answer: World 3. After my sisters said goodbye, we thought that maybe my father didn't want any more contact, and in order not to break our hearts, he said maybe instead of no. Later we knew why he had said maybe. There was no way to contact him anymore, and my father knew that. I asked Amir, "Who was the 3rd person?" He said, "I don't know, but I felt the presence of 3 spirits." Maybe it was a friend or a family member. You didn't ask, and I didn't want to pry. When we looked at the paper, on which Paria had written the answers, we saw two completely different handwriting. The first was Arshad's handwriting and the second was my father's handwriting. Neither of them resembled Paria's handwriting.